Designer Note Subject 46. The average American person earns about $49,000 per year according to BLS. For that amount of money, you can buy 12,280 Big Macs or two brand new Honda Accords, or get your family season tickets to the New York Knicks. But let's talk common sense. More likely than not, you can't eat that many Big Macs. Or so we hope for your sake. You only need one Honda Accord. And well, you're more likely going to buy Brooklyn Nets tickets than buy even a jersey from the New York Knicks. Sorry, Knickerbockers. Now let's add one more ridiculous dilemma here. For 50 grand, would you be willing to buy one of these Rolex Sky-dwellers? Or will common sense prevail? Well, let's find out. When the Sky-dweller first came into the scene, nobody bought them. Nobody knows what it is. It's more complex than a Datejust, but it sort of looks like one. It's definitely bigger than 42mm, and it doesn't seem like anything Rolex has ever done before. It's only made in precious metal too, so it's available to even less people. It's a dilemma. It doesn't make sense. Well, until we look deeper into this surprisingly interesting Rolex timepiece. Like, comment, and subscribe for content you'd like to see next. Follow us on Instagram at Design Atelier Aruba for behind-the-scenes content. Submit your pics and vids at designatelierviewer@gmail.com. The case, in fact, is 42mm and no bigger than that. With the case shape, it still wears more like a 40mm. With the complications that it has, yes, that's a complication with an S, it starts to make sense why the case measures at 14mm. The Sky-dweller, as the name suggests, is meant for traveling professionals. It's a true luxury offering, with the cases being made of white, yellow, and rose gold. Later in the run, the white gold models was discontinued and a steel version was added. It is best paired with a suit and still slips well under cuffs. Beside the white gold Daytona, you can clearly feel the heft of the Sky-dweller's case. But it's not the bulkiest case that Rolex offers. That still belongs to the Sea-dweller. The case is still built relatively well to be certified water resistant for 100 meters and includes a threaded crown. The case is polished generously all over, including the brilliantly designed fluted bezel. That fluted bezel does more than just look good. Rotating the bezel activates the watch's functions, and it is an ingenious and straightforward addition to the model. Rolex back in the day is known for its innovative approach in solving challenges such as the diving bezel and the helium escape valve. The fluted bezel is a return to form for Rolex, presenting a more elegant approach instead of adding pushers around the case. This bezel is always made out of precious metals, so you can expect a very rich and deep luster around the watch dial. The dials initially complemented the case colors with its original 3 models. As years passed by, more dial colors were added. Most of the dials feature a sunburst finish. The numerals can either be Roman or Arabic applied indices. Later in the run, Rolex switched to baton indexes that somewhat changed the look completely. With these batons, it now utilizes chromolite for luminescence. It's an information-heavy dial for sure. The attention is instantly drawn to the large numeral ring at the 6 o'clock position. This is the second time zone that you can set with a triangular marker indicating the home time. This home time is used as a reference to the local time of our traveling watch aficionado, but nothing prevents you from doing the other way around. The local time is read the conventional way, which is indicated by the center hands of the watch. The minutes and seconds hand remain the same for both the local and reference time. The hour and minute hands are partially skeletonized to allow for the reading of the 24-hour ring. Other noticeable features on the dial is a battalion of text just under the watch hands. Around all these details, you may notice something peculiar. There are numerous windows at the tip of the hour markers. This cleverly hides the annual calendar housed within this timepiece. The month of the year is indicated with a different color compared to the dial. Initially, it was either black or white, then with the succeeding references, these were replaced with the red color. Finally, rounding out the dial, we are treated with a mandatory sapphire crystal with a Cyclops magnifier at the 3 o'clock position that highlights the date. The real showstopper here is the 9001 caliber movement from Rolex. This is the most complicated and feature-packed movement that Rolex has ever made. The highlight is the annual calendar that Rolex manages to cram into this seemingly tame caliber. An annual calendar keeps track of the number of days within a selected month. This would mean that you don't need to adjust your date complication manually whenever a month only has 30 days and skip the 31st. So long as the movement is wound, you will only need to change the month manually from February to March. The brilliance here lies on how this is indicated and accessed. There are cleverly placed apertures at the tip of the markers. After all, there is an equal amount of months as there are hour markers on the dial, and the way this changes is instantaneous, unlike most watches that gradually moves from date to date or month to month. Rolex also manages to include a dual time zone complication. The date is a rapid set date complication and changes instantaneously as well. To operate the Sky-dweller is quite simple and intuitive. The first step to the crown is for winding the movement. The second step is to activate the bezel. Once the bezel is activated, you will now have access to 4 different positions. The first position is neutral, wherein the crown does nothing. Move the bezel counterclockwise until you feel a click, and you are now on the second position. In this position, you can set the date forward or backwards. This quick set date is quite useful. In case that you overshoot the date, you don't have to wind the date disc all the way around to get your desired date. You just simply move backwards. This also moves the annual calendar to select the month. It would take quite a few turns to get to your desired month, but that's the fun part, isn't it? Another click to the left would give you access to the quickset hour hand. This hand would jump from hour to hour that makes setting the hour to your destination time with relative ease. This also opens up the option to frequent flyers to simply leave the bezel in this position and quickly set the hour hand to any city they visit. Final click of the bezel would hack the seconds hand and give the user the ability to adjust the 24-hour disc along with the hour and minute hands. This movement is a superlative chronometer movement, so expect an accuracy of 2 to 4 seconds per day. This also includes their Parachrome technology for anti-magnetic properties coupled with Flaraflex shock absorption. This has a 72-hour power reserve, so even if you're done traveling for the weekend and remove it from your wrist, you can still suit it up without missing a beat the very next day you go back to work. It's pretty easy to keep track of all the references for the Sky-dweller. The initial run of 3 references debuted in 2012 came only in gold, yellow, white, and rose. The rose gold version came on a leather strap. 2 years later, an all-ever rose version came out with Roman numerals together with a black dial and strap option. In 2017, we start to see a shift in the Sky-dweller and its audience. Fans were clamoring for a more accessible option, and it came with a blue dial steel version with a white gold bezel. This model became one of the most sought-after pieces for Rolex in the market. This is also the time where the switch to baton indexes happened, and two-tone models were also offered. And then of course, this year we saw the Sky-dwellers that are now fitted with the Oyster Flex bracelet. So far, all the specs check out, and there's a sure market appeal for the Sky-dweller. At first, it seems to languish in obscurity with people not knowing what it's trying to be. But now, we know it simply by its identity, the Sky-dweller. A watch like this does not make sense to a person who earns $49,000 annually. But for a traveling professional who can seal a deal and earn twice as much with a stroke of a pen, the Sky-dweller might actually be a sensible option. What doesn't make sense is that we are mostly talking about the all-gold versions of the Sky-dweller. These all-gold versions are readily available in the second-hand market and often at a discounted price compared to retail. Even some authorized dealers still have them available as well. What doesn't make sense is that the lowest priced Sky-dweller, the 326934, retailing at just $14,000, is nowhere to be found. At the secondary market, it's hovering at around $17,000 to $24,000. That's about 6,000 hamburgers worth of dollars, or the price of a decent Japanese car. With this kind of absurd demand for a lesser material and a trending color dial, the Golden Sky-dwellers now begin to make more sense even to us 49K peasants window shopping in front of our screens. We may not buy it, but we understand it. Now don't ask us if we are willing to make the same case for the New York Knicks. That's a battle already lost before it even began. Let's answer a few viewer comments. Celine Driver asks, again, a very nice video. Thank you so much, Celine. Again, Celine Driver is one of our regulars in our channel and he's been prolific in commenting. These watches are beasts, to be sure. He's talking about the AWM 500. Mineral crystal is a letdown at this price that they're going to command. Sapphire would have been better. I only own one G-Shock, and that one is the Tron, and I love it. This one might be worth a look. Yes, you're right. The AWM 500 is worth a consideration, but for something that commands almost $500 or maybe even $500 really or more, it should have a sapphire crystal. If we look at the other offerings of G-Shock, they do offer sapphire crystals on their really robust models, and especially in the metal G-Shock line. And yeah, again, to reiterate, this doesn't have Bluetooth either. So it is a letdown, but is it something still worth considering? Yes, that stunning bracelet and case is just really well made, and the contrast in finishing is just brilliant. So maybe get it pre-owned or later on in the production run. Anthony Ranoli writes, I think the date at the 12 o'clock is a bad idea. He's talking about the Tag Heuer 160-year anniversary tribute chronograph of the Carrera. The chrono hand is always obstructing the visibility of the date. You always have to have the chrono running for it not to be a problem. Very, very good observation there. Even that eluded my my analysis of the video, and that is true, which is kind of a little bit disappointing. But then again, this is about being a tribute to the Data 45 Carrera. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they veered away from that chronograph movement, because it is obstructing the date window. However, it's all about the dial layout, because they could have used the same chronograph movement, put the window on the 6 o'clock position, which is pretty much what's happening with most of the Carrera line. But to pay a tribute to the Data 45, they had to do that. Or maybe they could have done a different design cue from the Data 45, but that's one of the very legible design cues of that chronograph. And I wouldn't blame them, because let's be honest here, you're really just going to fidget with your chronograph whenever you want and not really to time something. Probably the date window is more useful, but that too would be mute, because you're going to wear this watch really to pair it up with your suit, to be a conversation piece on those special occasions. And for sure, by the time that you're in that special occasion, you know what date it is already. So like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for your support. If you have any questions, please feel free to send us an email at designatelierviewer@gmail.com. Send us your pictures and videos if you want your watches or you to be featured in our channel in the same email. And find us on Instagram for behind the scenes content. Thank you so much and have a pleasant one.